an exciting time of the year. What do we have? 4 weeks left? 4 weeks left? You counting down? You have a calendar at home? You're probably thinking, oh, 4 weeks left and we get summer vacation. I'm thinking 4 weeks. This is the most exciting time of the school year because of all the events that we have scheduled. I mean, for example, last time was the New Tech High Banquet. You know, today's a regional track meet. Next Tuesday is the CTE Open House. Then we have all kinds of recognition events, honors night, scholarship night. It all culminates with graduation. And this will actually be my 30th consecutive graduation, sitting on stage as an administrator, and I'll tell you, the same thoughts go through my mind every year when I sit on that stage. I'm so proud and excited for the students that are graduating, but I also think, what's the next phase of their life? Where are they going next? And I'll tell you, it's different for everybody. I mean, at this point, you know, through high school, things are kind of laid out for you. But when you get to that point, you get to make some decisions about which direction you want to go. And for some folks, actually a lot of folks, they might end up back into high school, like Mrs. Renton, like Mr. Kroll, like Miss Rose, Miss Tice, Mr. Jerome. I was Mr. Jerome's principal. You know, that was the direction they wanted to go. Other people go different directions. I saw a gentleman coming in with a sweatshirt from NASA. That's pretty cool. I remember many years ago, a student, she was graduating, she told me, I want to be an astronaut. I said, wow, that's fantastic. That's a really lofty goal. I hope you make it. Very few do. But you know what? She is working for NASA. In fact, we do have 2 students working for NASA. That was incredible. You remember 2 weeks ago, you probably saw it in the newspaper or heard it somewhere, we had one of our former students drafted into the National Football League. That's amazing. I remember him in high school. He was good. I never thought he was going to be in the NFL. How do you think he felt when he was meeting with the college coaches, with him and his dad, and they told him, you're too small to play Division II. We're not even going to offer you a scholarship. He just went to the NFL. First person from this high school, first person from Ferris State University. Went a different direction. He knew where he wanted to go. Today, we have another very special person that graduated from this high school in 2001. And he's going to share with you a little bit about his life journey, who he is, where he's at, and what he got to do to get there. So at this time, I want to introduce Jason Dewika, my dear friend, in 2001 Pinckney High School graduate.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. As Dr. Garga so very kindly said, thank you for that gracious introduction. My name is Jason. I'm going to start off today by asking you all a question. By a show of hands, how many of you have been made fun of here? Okay, including me. So basically, everybody. Probably most of you have been picked on at one point. By a show of hands, how many of you have made fun of someone else? And I don't just mean teasing your friends. Okay, fair enough. Be honest. Be honest. There's no judgment here today. There's no judgment. So many of the people have been made fun of have also done the making fun. Interesting. If we only knew how these behaviors scar us, often for life, how we treat one another when we're young is just as important as how we treat one another later in life. If you think, oh, this is okay because I'm still so young and it doesn't matter, you're wrong. Allow me to tell you a little bit about me. This is my story. It has been almost 21 years since I sat where you do. And I remember this place, but we were in the old high school then, which is now middle school. My peers and the teachers with great admiration, with a fondness tempered by time and with gratitude and love. Some of the teachers who were there for me then are still here this day, and I want you to know that they helped forge who I would eventually be. Thankfully, I also had 2 amazing parents who loved me so much and never let me give up. Let me give you some unsolicited advice. Nudge yourself to take more risks. You will never know what is around the corner unless you take a peek. The time to take risks is now. We all have this in common. We want to be able to earn a living doing what we love, whether that is music, sports, science, engineering, or any number of other disciplines. Whatever your aspirations, you want an invitation to the dance. Life is a long song, and it is to be lived with all the wonder, amazement, trials, and tribulations that make it so glorious. Have the nerve to go into unexplored territory. Be brave enough to live life creatively. The creative is the place where no one else but you can go. It is what makes you unique and allows you to seek the unknown. Leave your comfort zone and go into the wilderness of your intuition. Find and pursue your passion. Take initiative in getting the game. Have you ever heard that only dead fish go with the flow? Take action. All the stories you have ever connected with, all the leaders you have admired, and all that you have accomplished to date are a result of taking action. You not only have a voice, but you also have a choice. This is your life, and it is the only dance that you'll give it. And don't be afraid or too proud to seek help. Some of the teachers here at Pinckney High have had to lift me up off the floor. In many ways, I could not have made it without them. You see, I was born with Tourettes Syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that manifests itself through things called tics, also known as involuntary physical movements and vocalisms. I ticked nearly all the time. I would fall into bed at night from sheer exhaustion. Also, because I was made fun of all the time, I was so tired from fending off constant attacks. It was sport for my peers, and these hallways, the hunting grounds. Growing up with Tourette's offered little in terms of anonymity, privacy, or normal breaks a young man or teenager would need. In a few instances, I was even beaten up. I realized later that they feared me. They feared me because they didn't understand me. I learned rather severely humanity does tend to fear what it does not understand. My peers were largely indifferent, and many were cruel beyond words, but there were a few who were understanding and even kind. Those who were kind I shall never forget. People underestimate kindness every day in the wider world. In these walls, in this artificial environment known as high school in America, don't fall victim to that same way of thinking. Don't let bullies sway you from true justice, and they might try hard. Stay open-minded, and if you see injustices in these halls, tell your older peers, tell your teachers, and tell your parents. But most of all, tell yourself you won't stand for it. One of the things that kept me going was inspiration. I knew that I had it, and my sufferings were not in vain, and that someday I would show them all. I wasn't just a Tourette's kid. As they referred to me, I actually did have some talent, and because of my unique outlook on life, and because of the perspective Tourette's gave me on people, I would outshine this struggle with my accomplishments. Moreover, but how I lived. I would carry myself as someone who was regal, try to be, above anything petty. I still try to live up to that every day of my life. I tried hard, harder than anything I've ever done to overcome this disorder, and finally at almost age 19, my perseverance was rewarded. Through that, a parent's unyielding search for a cure, and going through puberty, where your teenage brain chemistry begins to stabilize, I finally found a respite. I would tick sometimes thousands of times a day. On one flight to Florida, my mom counted over 1,000. My body ached, sometimes all over from this Tourettic torment. I wept, I slept, and then I had to repeat. I imagine from your perspective, being in high school is exciting, freeing, and maybe a little bit overwhelming. I remember well how I felt, scared, excited, uncertain, and unsure of myself and my peers and surroundings. But looking back, I realized Tourette's was my greatest teacher, though. I learned humility and about humanity from it. To that end, I'd like to invite a few of you up here. We are going to have a little talk. Excuse me for a moment, it's dry here. So, we can do this one of two ways. They're both fun. One is I randomly call people, or you guys raise your hands. I need 2 girls and 2 boys, so 4 people total. Okay? The young man in the white. I can't see as well, so you 2 in the row back here. Thank you for joining me up here, guys. Get the applause up. For the past 6 years, my part-time job has been teaching high school as a long-term sub. It was hard at first, returning to age level where I was hurt so much. After a while, I realized it wasn't the same, and neither was I. Time can do amazing things. The students took me in, accepted me, even liked me, wanted to talk to and get to know me. It was the exact opposite of my own high school experience. It was inconceivable that I was viewed as popular now, and it was a concept foreign to me. I realized I needed that as a final bandage to all those wounds I'd gotten battling when I was a student. I also learned a lot, and many of the students I taught had gone on to graduate, and in a few special cases, wonderful friendships have developed. I realized through teaching, I had a lot to say, to express, and to actually teach. Not about any given subject necessarily, but about life. As it evolved, how to overcome and persevere became my lesson plan. Challenges will be everywhere. I have had few. Looked upon by the misinformed, Tourette's was an easy reason to be the subject of ridicule and have your life made miserable. But it also gave me a voice to explain every day, sometimes every hour, why I was doing hundreds of tics, and even though I was shunned and ostracized, and sometimes felt exhausted to be a human, I kept on trying. A lot of my teachers and family helped me to keep trying. I did not know at the time whether or not I would always be in such difficult circumstances. What was my future going to be? What sort of job might I have? Would I go to college? All the questions we all experience. Fear is the mind killer. Some fears also transcend into normal activity and become a way of coping. But what is normal? Fear can leave you paralyzed and overwhelmed, and it could even make you afraid of success. That is why you will need advice along the way. No man or woman, boy or girl, is an island. Ask your parents often, how am I doing? Keep in touch with good friends and work at keeping them good friends. Force yourself to be accountable, not just to yourself, but to others. Be as persistent as you can be and do not give up. Nothing is really over until the moment you stop trying. We all have to pay our dues in one way or another, and most of us earn our happiness. Don't be afraid of looking foolish once in a while. You are going to anyway. It is astonishing to think that simple fears have kept people we all admire from doing things early on in their lives. Barbara Streisand had a fear of performing in front of crowds. Stephen Hawking, an astrophysicist and one of the most brilliant minds we ever were graced with on the planet, who recently passed away, had ALS, a completely debilitating disease. Didn't even let that stop him from possibly changing the course of our understanding about our universe. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, who also recently passed away, he had a speech impediment. There are so many examples. But fear also gives way to outlets, important emotional ones, such as playing the guitar or singing. These are also things we do to de-stress or to improve our quality of life. With a show of hands, who amongst you plays a musical instrument or sings? Okay, a lot of you, that's awesome. Would it interest you to know what my job is? Yeah. I am a professional opera singer. Music, especially singing, has always been my saving grace. I grew up singing jazz, but then more and more classical music became a part of my life. As I grew, so did my passion for opera, which ultimately became my career. It's so much more than that. It's my passion, my day job, my career, and really my life, all wrapped up in one. I remember when I was given an opportunity in my sophomore year at the old high school to sing O Holy Night at our school's Christmas concert. At the time, Tourette's ruled my day-to-day life, and no one knew, including me, how I would sing. I remember to this day how nervous I was. But when the time came, I stood. I trembled, but I did sing. The audience of over 1,000 students and teachers gave me a standing ovation. Since that time, I have been pursuing this dream. I liken it to climbing a mountain so tall, you cannot see the top. Slowly but surely, little by little, the skills are acquired, and people are met along the way. Some that help, some that hinder. It is a constant struggle where thousands apply, hundreds are asked to audition, and a handful are finally chosen. I have had the good fortune to continue to be asked to audition, and at last to be chosen. I am also thankful to have had numerous standing ovations, and I consider this the residue of hard work, doing something that I love. Currently, I am under management with one of the best agents in the opera business out of New York, where I will return this fall. I have completed 65 auditions to date for companies ranging from D to A houses from all over the world. And recently, I had a unique opportunity to return to my alma mater as a paid soloist, the Indiana University Jacobs School of Music, and sing the lead villainous role of Enrico in Donizetti's Italian opera Lucia di Lammermoor. I have also sung for the casting director of the Met, the largest opera company on the planet. Now, we're going to play you a little video of me singing La Pietà in suo favore from that opera from the Jacobs School of Music. sat where you do, and someone would come speak to us, I didn't know opera was going to become my career and life's passion. What do you all envision for yourselves? Don't be fooled by what success means to the world out there. As you know, it is not measured by what we have, but by what we do, what we think, and the difference that each of us can make. Everything is not as it appears, and vive la différence. In French, that means blessed be those that are different. Some of you are better at math and science, some at arts and letters, and some at sports. What lens do you use to see the world around you? I would have to say that my lens has been singing, performing. It's a strange thing how we express ourselves. Some do it in fashion, some in athletics, some in writing, and some in art. But I am a member of a few who use our voices to lift spirits, communicate complicated ideas about love in foreign languages that are at once thrilling as they are beguiling. How will you all choose to express yourselves in the future? I must admit, I don't see as much self-expression that is free and truly felt in this world as I wish that I did. Please don't let fear of being looked at oddly or being prejudged keep you from true self-expression. Please don't. You are more than a member of a popular clique or an in-group. If I were dictated by those primal fears, I would have turned down the remarkable opportunity to speak before you today. I also probably would have never asked out that particular girl who I thought was so beautiful, but could she possibly care for me? I would have thought it too difficult and too time-consuming to be both a professional opera singer and an amateur bodybuilder. Lo and behold, they complement each other perfectly. Please don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. I live every day outside of mine. That seems to be the nature of a performer. Life can be summed up in many ways: pathways, roads, chances, and choices. If life is the sum of choices, will you make the right one, or will you learn more from making the wrong one? The thing about a choice, though, is that you must first make it. In life, if you make a decision, sometimes good things happen and sometimes bad things happen. But if you never make the choice to begin with, nothing will happen. What choices will you make in the future? I hope today has opened your mind a little, maybe allowed you to think about your peers and how you treat them in a new way, and also to never judge someone, for you do not know the struggle they are dealing with privately. You also have no idea what they might become if allowed to truly blossom. Perhaps as you go and make your way in these halls and become older, there will be younger peers who will benefit from your kindness and guidance. Truly strong men and women lift up all those around them. In closing, I would like to offer a few quotes that underpin my meeting. The first one is by one of my heroes, Dr. Martin Luther King. The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And one from Marianne Williamson, and another, which is an excerpt from Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Mrs. Williamson said that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Our light most frightens us, not our darkness. Your playing small does not serve the world. We are all meant to shine. It gives other people permission to. As we are liberated from our own fear, it automatically liberates others. And this by Tennyson. We are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven. That which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to sing you a little something, and I'd like to introduce my wonderful pianist, Kevin Bilesma.
Be very proud of that. So again, Jason, so much for coming today. It was great having you again. You were a great audience.